Hello and welcome to Ross's Movie Reviews, and this is the moment I have dreaded for ever since I committed myself to doing these reviews of the Star Trek movie franchise. Um, we have the god-awful and dreaded fifth entry in the Star Trek movie franchise. This, oh God. This is so bad. I mean, it's so terrible. Um, the only good thing to me about this movie is the title, The Final Frontier. You know, it's a cool title. Even the front cover is cool. But once you see the movie, oh God, it's god awful. It's so bad. It's in fact so bad that the Razzies gave it the worst picture of 1989. That's how bad this thing is. It's terrible. It's absolutely an abomination to the Star Trek movie franchise. It's that bad. Rather than tell you the terrible plot that's not even worth mentioning, let's get on how this movie even got made. All right. When William Shatner was doing Star Trek 4, he did not get paid as much as the other people. He got a pay decrease. I don't know why, but he did. And Paramount said, okay, well, we didn't give you enough money in the last one, so how about you direct Star Trek 5? He said, okay, I'll direct it. All right. At that time, there was a Hollywood strike. All right. And it affected the special effects company for Star Trek, Industrial Light and Magic, who has worked on a lot of movies, including the Star Trek, the Star Wars movies, excuse me. Everything kind of fell down after that. They didn't get the good enough special effects that they needed for this movie. They didn't have... The writers were confused about what they wanted to do with this movie. William Shatner wanted to make a better storyline. He actually wanted to make a storyline where Kirk, Spock, and McCoy betray each other. Don't ask me what that was all about, but, it would have been far interesting than this thing. And they tried to make it more as lighthearted as the fourth one. The fans, they didn't want that. They didn't want to hear about that. They didn't want the next Star Trek movie to be so lighthearted as the last one. You had your time joking around and stuff like that. We don't want it in this film. We don't want it in the next film. All right? Paramount did not listen to the fans on that. So they tried to make this more lighthearted. In 1989, Star Trek The Next Generation was 2 years old. And they tried to bring this out so that it would kind of give fans something else to see other than Star Trek The Next Generation. That didn't work. They tried to make some influences from Star Trek The Next Generation into this. That didn't work. And the next one is the plot. That really didn't work. It was just absolutely confusing. It was poorly executed. It was terrible. All right, the plot goes is that the captain and his crew are on shore leave. A Vulcan, renegade Vulcan, steals, threatens a planet, and steals three ambassadors from a planet called Nimbus 3, or whatever the hell it is. And this Vulcan is later in the movie discovered that it is actually Spock's brother, who is supposed to be dead. His name is Cybok or something like that. I don't know. I mean, God, it's so bad. It's Jesus God. And it gets worse from there. They go to this place called Shakari, or he wants to go to this place called Shakari that's supposed to be the center of the universe. And then Spock's brother is on some kind of crusade to get to God or something like that, almost like medieval crusades or something like that. I don't know. It gets worse from there. That's when the special effects show up, and the special effects are terrible. They're god-awful. In fact, if you get the double disc version of this, the Star Trek V, or even if you get the Blu-ray version, the beginning part of the planet, even that's better than the movie. It's terrible. It's god-awful. And I think the thing is that I don't think anybody really believed in this movie, or they would have tried harder in this thing. They would have tried hard. I don't think William Shatner really cared enough to make this good for the fans. I don't really even care. I think he even cared about the fans. He wanted to do this for himself. And you can't go into a movie franchise and do that. That's death. That's instant death on the movie. You can't do it for yourself. You have to go in and think of the fans, man. Star Trek is a fan-based movie franchise. Star Trek is a fan-based franchise. They rely on its fans. It's its lifeblood. And nobody thought of that in here. That's the dumb thing. Nobody thought of that. And could that completely ruin, as far as I'm concerned, that is what completely ruined this movie. That was completely what sent this movie into the grave. This movie is an embarrassment to the Star Trek movie franchise. Completely embarrassment. A complete embarrassment. And I don't know if even any of these actors that people come to know and love, whether they even saw this movie and said, oh my God, why did we even do this mess? Why did we even do this? Instead of making Star Trek V, what they should do is they should have an even 10 movies. Forget about Star Trek V, erase it from the Star Trek franchise, and just think of 6 as the 5th movie. Now, I know a lot of people have done that to video games, but we're talking about a movie franchise here, too. I mean, I wish they would just completely get rid of this thing and think of, personally, I do think of Star Trek 6 as the 5th movie. I don't even think of this as the 5th movie. This is just a mistake. That's all this is. It's just a big mistake. They didn't listen to anything. They didn't take any care in the world of what this franchise was about. They didn't care about what the fans would think. They didn't care anything about Star Trek itself in this movie. All they cared about was to make a 5th film, push it out there to make money, and guess what? It didn't make any, hardly. It was a complete flop, and it was a complete disaster. Now, thank God, Paramount seriously thought of its fans and brought an incredibly, the most politically charged, but one of the most awesome Star Treks movies in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, which will be my next review. Thank God I get to do a better movie. This movie should be absolutely banned from Star Trek altogether. It's terrible. It's god-awful. Star Trek 6, next review. Thank God they actually made another good movie. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. And your comments will be much appreciated. Thank you. Bye-bye.